Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Martha Mincer. She is a fund representative for Fresh Air Fund. So we'll learn about the organization and meet Martha when we come back. So stay with us. That's it.
I'm done.
All right, see you later. Get out of here.
Good. Done.
You're like, great. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today, a first-timer on the show, her name is Martha Mincer. She is a fund representative for Fresh Air Fund. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell everybody what Fresh Air Fund is.
The Fresh Air Fund is a New York-based charity that has been going for, actually, this is its 136th summer.
Wow.
And it sends inner-city kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods out to suburbs and rural communities for a chance at a vacation.
Wow, 136 summers, you said? You would think that we would know about it, you know, if it's been around for that long.
Well, you should know about it.
I mean, is it
frankly.
localized or is it?
It is not. It goes through 13 states and into Canada. So essentially, all the children are from New York City. So any of the 5 boroughs from New York City, but they go anywhere from Virginia all the way up to Maine and into Canada.
Depending on where the spots are.
Where the host families are.
Now, I'm going to assume that you don't go back all 136 summers,
Yeah,
right?
no, not, but I do go back quite a while, actually.
How far back do you go back?
Well, my family, when I was growing up, hosted several children. So when I was about 3, so back in the 60s.
So then it only made sense for you to be involved with the organization, you know, as a way to give back, but also you learned about it, you liked it, you thought it was a great cause, and said, I want to be a part of it, right?
Well, you know, I grew up doing it, and then when I finally moved to the suburbs and had my own house, I said, you know what, this is something that we're going to do.
Can you go back in time and talk about the history and why, way back when, you know, it was kind of felt that something like this was needed and how it kind of came about?
Okay, well, it came about in 1877. There was a Reverend Willard Parsons who had a congregation, I guess in Pennsylvania, and he asked his congregation to host children from New York City for a chance to get fresh air.
Right.
And that's how it started. And so the community opened up their homes and invited kids to stay with them from the tenements of New York City.
Right. I guess aside from Central Park, there's not a lot of trees that you can
and especially for these kids, they live in the Bronx, they live in Brooklyn, they live
neighborhoods,
really tough neighborhoods where they can't go out and play.
Yeah.
These are the kids whose moms and parents care about them enough that they want them to be staying in their apartments. They are in their apartments watching TV and don't get outside
Which is exactly what is wrong with, you know, the youth of today with lack of exercise and
absolutely,
you know, like you said, fresh air and things of that
yeah
sort.
I mean, we have kids every summer who come to us who have never been to the beach before, who don't know how to swim, who, you know, I hosted a little boy several years ago who had never been to a movie theater before. He was 9 years old.
Wow.
And I actually love telling that to some of the host families and their children when I go out to interview them, because their jaws drop. They can't imagine that a 9-year-old has never been to a movie before.
So I assume that all the kids who participate in this program, low income.
They are. Okay. They are. They are from low income neighborhoods, and they all have some level of financial need. You have to have financial need in order to be part of the program.
So as we go back in time, and you know, it was this came together, and it was spearheaded, and it was a way to get kids out of the inner city and take a little vacation. But you know. That's the simple way to describe it, but it seems like it would be so difficult to organize it. Well, how do we get families to want to be involved, and you know, how do we vet? You know, what's the vetting process of the kids to make sure that there's a a compatible match and things of that sort? Right.
Well, it's complicated and it's a very complex thing, but they've been doing something right because it's been going for 136 summers. But the Fresh Air Fund recruits kids into the program through a variety of different social service agencies. So there's, I think, about 90 different social service agencies, and that's the Boys Club and the Girls Club, after-school organizations, religious organizations, you name it, community-based organizations, and they recruit the kids into the Fresh Air Fund. And on the other end of things, I am a fund rep and I am a local volunteer in Connecticut, and I recruit the host families.
Okay.
So what I do is I go out to families who are interested in participating and interested in opening their homes and their hearts, so to speak, and tell them about the program and, you know, tell them all that there is about the Fresh Air Fund.
And how long are the kids with the host family? Is it a week?
It varies. It can be a week to 2 weeks. On the first visit, the limit is 2 weeks. Once a child has come to visit a specific family, they can continue to come back, you know, for, you know, they could spend all summer. Most just spend a week or two.
Right. And are you there to sort of gauge the compatibility between the kid and the host family, or the chemistry? How does that work?
Well, you know, there is, you know, it's the kind of thing where you get what you get and you hope you don't get upset.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, I am there as the chairperson and the local person on the ground to support the host families. And so I always check in with them. I make sure they're doing all right. If they have any problems, they're going to call me and we'll sort through them and things like that.
Right. But obviously they get a chance to meet ahead of time and sort of see if, you know.
Hopefully, yes. Yeah. Hopefully, yes, they do. I mean, ideally what happens is we put an invitation in for a child to visit, and the host families are able to select the age and gender, the age range and gender of a child who comes to visit them. And that's sort of based on what's in their family makeup or what would work well with them. And then what happens is once they actually put in an invitation, the Fresh Air Fund will match them with a child, and then I come in and say, hey, congratulations, you're having a boy, and his name is so-and-so, and I give them all the details, and then it's up to the host family to reach out and contact this city family and introduce themselves and sort of start that relationship.
So you're sort of a liaison initially.
Exactly.
But they kind of take the initiative, the host family takes the initiative after that. Take the reins, so to speak, and reach out.
But for 99% of them, the first time they actually meet this child is when they step off that bus.
Wow.
And so they're usually waiting at a bus stop, which is, you know, a variety of places, and with a big sign saying, welcome Isaiah, or welcome, you know, whoever, Shania.
Right.
And you know, they see them when they step off that bus. Now, and same for the kids.
Are there prerequisites for the host family? Is there a certain income level that they need to have? Does there need to be, you know, a man and a woman, or pets, no pets,
we take
like
all
that?
Different types of hosts, and it does take all different kind of host families to do this. We have single moms, we have, you know, traditional families, we have same-sex families, we have, you name it, people who are empty nesters, people who don't have any children at home anymore. It really runs the gamut, and all it is that you have to be willing to open up your home and show a child a good time. And they need to have a bed for the child. Right. And that's really it.
But also, I mean, obviously, it certainly is helpful if they have some kind of financial resources to be able to, you know, make the week or two as pleasurable as possible.
Yeah, but it doesn't really cost a lot, I have to say, because you know what? In a lot of these places, they can just be turned out into a backyard, and they're happy to play in the grass.
Compared to where they've been.
Well, exactly. They're thrilled to do just the simple things. They're thrilled to go on a playground and swing on a playground. They're thrilled to go to a movie, which, you know, isn't too expensive.
And since you sort of step back after they meet, do you allow the host family and the kids to sort of decide, you know, the itinerary for their time there?
Yeah.
They all decide it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of families do all different kinds of things.
I was going to ask you, what kind of interesting things have you heard stories about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of the kids go to local day camps, and you know, at least where I live in Fairfield, some of the day camps have been really great and offering free scholarships for these kids to go. Wow. So these kids have been getting to go to summer camp where they never would have gotten a chance to do that. Other people do all sorts of things. They take them on little trips. I actually took my little girl who was just visiting to Cape Cod for the weekend because it happened to be visiting day at my son's camp. So she got to see that.
Almost went up there. There were shark sightings or something like that. I don't know if you were up there for that.
No, I wasn't.
But that would be great for, I mean, if a kid is living in the inner city, imagine.
To see a shark, exactly. I mean, there's so many firsts for these kids that just really see really inner city neighborhoods. And so, you know, to grill marshmallows and make s'mores is a fun activity with them. It's not expensive. A couple of years ago, I had another boy named Larry, and he actually went to sleepaway camp with my son thanks, I organized, and the camp was happy to provide a free scholarship for him to go to sleepaway camp for 3.5 weeks.
Wow, that's great.
We have another kid who's actually in Wisconsin doing the same thing. So these kids get great opportunities if they're willing to take them.
Yeah, absolutely. Since I was asking a little while ago about, if there's any prerequisite financially for the host families, I'll ask you this question. Are you finding it more difficult in the economic times that we are in, as far as either finding host families or just be able to have resources available for what you need to do?
It's funny, a couple years ago we did have a really hard recruitment season in terms of finding new hosts. It's gotten a little bit better, but I mean, I think the economic, especially in Fairfield County, did have an impact. But luckily, our numbers are coming up. The Fresh Air Fund has a goal of sending 4,100 kids out to host families this summer.
Now, is there a waiting list for the kids, or are you having trouble finding host families? How much?
There's always more kids than there are host families.
Right.
So we're always looking, and we'll still continue to take applications. And if someone called me up today and said, I'm interested in hosting in August, I'd be there tomorrow and interview them and hopefully, make that happen.
What happens like around the holidays and stuff? Is there more need or desire, or do people have a tendency to kind of, I can't host at that time because we're going away?
What, this is actually specifically during the summer.
Okay.
So the trips start when New York City schools let out. They start the very next day, and they run through Labor Day. And so that is the only period of time where the kids are officially go through. Many host families bring their kids out during the holidays or have them out for a quick vacation here or there, and that's fine, but it's not really officially through.
And if it works out well, like you said, later on, they're free to reconnect in some way.
Absolutely.
And it can be during the holiday season, and that would make the kid feel even that much more better if he can go during the holidays, because there's probably going to be a present waiting for him too. There,
Exactly.
So when it's not summertime, what are you doing at that point? Are you still in the process of going through applications, trying to find host families and things like that?
I mean, it's a bit of planning.
Yep.
It's we're always recruiting new host families. We're also doing PR activities and trying to just gain attention for the Fresh Air Fund. It's quieter time, no doubt, but
your job duties change over
a little bit, exactly.
Let's take a break and come back. I want you to give out the website so people can go to the Fresh Air Fund site and learn what it's all about. So what's the website?
Okay, it's www.freshair.org.
All right, simple website. Put a graphic up on the screen too. Martha Mincer, she is the fund representative for Fresh Air Fund. We'll take a break and be back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Martha Mincer. She is a fund representative for Fresh Air Fund. We're learning all about the organization that has been around for 136 summers.
That's it.
That is a lot. I had you mention the website as we went to the break. What's on the website for people to go and learn and see?
There's a ton of information just about the Fresh Air Fund. There's some videos about hosting. There's videos about kids. City families can actually sign up their kids through that organization. People can actually register their interest in participating as a host. There's information about camp programs. There actually are two sides to the Fresh Air Fund. They have the Friendly Town programs where kids stay in someone's home, but they also run about 5 different camps.
Okay. And also on the site are links for people to Facebook and Twitter, all the social media stuff is on there too.
Absolutely.
So go there and get involved in that. We were talking about the host families and maybe some prerequisites, and someone might be thinking, well, qualifications, what do they need to do? There certainly is a sort of a background check and a process for the host family. Talk about that a little bit.
So every family that hosts had a personal interview by myself or another person in the organization, and we come out, we interview them. Everyone in their family needs to be present.
What kind of questions do you ask them? Just to see if they're compatible to be able to host a child for
Exactly.
a week or two?
My criteria is if I would be willing to leave my own children in this house, I would be willing to leave a Fresh Air Fund. And frankly, I feel like the kids are my kids. They're my responsibility. So I only want the best for these kids.
You also have to get a feel for the environment that the child will be in. You have to, if the place is, tidy and
clean if the parents are informed, if they ask questions that make me realize that they have done some research, that they've thought about the program, that it's not just, oh sure, we'll take a kid in, no problem, no questions asked.
If they've contacted you, they probably are interested in, and probably did a little research beforehand anyway, right? We
have a lot of conversations before we actually come out and interview. At the interview, it usually lasts an hour, hour and a half. We talk about discipline issues. We talk about what their family routine is, what they like to do. Would they be able to be flexible? All those kinds of things. We actually ask the kids if they're on board. We make sure everybody is on board with this before we send a kid out there.
You touched on an interesting topic, discipline. Whenever it's somebody else's kids, somebody would be very apprehensive about
discipline.
Exactly. So how is that situation handled? Is it a case-by-case basis? Or?
Well, people have to be willing to be able to discipline. Right. I mean, in terms of just making sure that the child is safe, and so that they're not going to run into a swimming pool. Exactly. But in an appropriate way. Obviously, Fresh Air Fund has a policy of no corporal punishment, so there's none of that. But hopefully that the family can sit down and explain what's gone on and redirect.
At the same time, though, you would imagine that it might be a little bit more difficult in the sense of where these kids are coming from and what kind of environment they lived in, possibly a one-parent home. Maybe that one parent is out working all day, so there might not be a lot of supervision. And this may be a great experience for the kid, but they also may not be used to the kind of structure that they're going to get at this place for a week or two.
Absolutely. I mean, these kids, it's as if you've put these kids on Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, their lives are very, very different
than
it's a good the lives of... No, absolutely. And I think that this program is great because it opens their eyes that there is a different world out there, and that it isn't all just surrounded by their tiny little apartment in their tiny little neighborhood that they never get out of. That they see that there are other ways of living and other, that people go out and work for a living. There are lots of other, not that their parents do, of course they do, but, very different types of jobs, very different types of families.
Is it more boys than girls that end up?
No, it's mixed.
Okay.
It's mixed.
And if it's coming from inner cities, income level, what about like the, demographic makeup, minorities,
it's interesting that, obviously a lot of the children are minorities. The Fresh Air Fund has done a lot to reach out to some new immigrant populations. So we have children who, are African American, we have children who are Hispanic, we have kids from all different kinds of backgrounds, some Korean, some Chinese. And that poses problems just in terms of communications with their parents, who typically don't speak any English. I have a little girl who is from the Dominican Republic, and her mom doesn't speak English. So the only communication that I have with her is through her children.
Yeah, and they translate. Right.
Exactly.
Kids' translation may be a little different than adult
well, I hope they're saying what I'm telling them.
Right. But it seems fascinating, and it's growing all the time. And like you said, there's always more kids than there are host families. So unfortunately, that means there's a lot of kids in need that could use it.
Don't get to go out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
how long of a wait do some have? I guess it depends, right?
Well, it really depends. I mean, it's a matter of matching the age and the gender, to the host family. And so, but every year there's always some kids who don't get to go out, which is really a shame.
Yeah.
They really just don't get a vacation.
How are you funded?
They are funded, actually, about 75% of their funding is private funding.
Okay. Do you do fundraisers and things of that sort? Yeah.
They do.
Okay. And I guess depending on the time of year, would be more appropriate for the and I would imagine that stuff's all on the website too. If something's coming up and they want to get the word out about that.
Yes.
Now you're a fund representative. What exactly does that mean?
That is someone who oversees a number of local chair people. I was actually started out as a local chairperson, and I oversee sort of the nuts and bolts of the activities in my town or couple towns. But now as a fund rep, I oversee people from Greenwich all the way up to Litchfield.
Okay. All right, so that's whole
thing.
Western part of the state, basically.
Exactly.
Is there stuff going on the eastern side too?
There's about 19 friendly towns in Connecticut, and we sent, this year it'll be about 300 kids will come to Connecticut.
Wow. And it's right next door, but it really is, if you think about it, a night and day difference as far as the environment.
Completely. Just, at least from my home, I'm an hour away, and it's a very, very different lifestyle.
Right. I love New York, but I live in Connecticut, so,
But, a lot of these kids are not even familiar with the New York that we're all familiar with.
Manhattan,
Manhattan and the museums or the shows
the
or the rest
stuff.
of the tourists. They never even get to that.
Right. And that's right in their backyard.
Right in their backyard, and they don't even go there.
What have you learned? You've been doing it for a while, and obviously, as time goes on, little tweaks are done so that this is done better. You've learned from past experience. What kind of changes have occurred with the Fresh Air Fund that you've kind of adjusted for, and the sign of the times that change things too? Technology has advanced. We were kind of joking off the air about. You personally are not that plugged into social media, but it's almost like it's a requirement now.
You have to be, and I think just the way we reach our host families, it used to be just sort of word of mouth. I now have to really go out and proactively recruit host families through church organizations, through the social networking, through schools, through online newsletters and things like that. We're doing a lot of blogs and getting attention in a lot of local blogs, which helps a lot.
Coming on this show, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, just getting the word out whenever you can and however you can.
Exactly.
And it's important. And, are there misconceptions about your organization that people you might have had to sort of give them an eye opener about and go, wow, I didn't realize that. I would have thought.
It's funny. A lot of people say, well, I thought I had to host them the whole summer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh no, just a week.
Right.
I mean, a week out of someone's life is really not a long time to give up. In terms of hosting a child and opening up your home. Anybody can do a week.
It has similarities to sort of a big brothers, big sisters kind of a thing, except not quite as long term, I guess, right?
Right. I mean, obviously, hopefully it'll all work out. The idea is that you invite a child into your home and you have a good time. And if it all works out and you want to host them again the next year, you can invite them back and they can hopefully come back.
If there is a problem or if there is sort of a compatibility issue, are you the one that would get the call on that?
Yes.
And hopefully it doesn't happen too often.
No,
right?
no, we really try. And, we try. I mean, some kids are homesick. Some kids really have a hard time just being away from their parents.
Especially if it's the first time, right?
Well, they start at age 6, and so for some of these kids, it's their first time, and they're tiny little peanuts.
Start at 6. What age can they go up to?
They can come out to a new host family up till they're 12. Once you've hosted them, they can continue to come out till they're 18.
Okay.
But they won't send anyone over 12 out to a new family.
Gotcha. Well, let's get people to go to the website one more time as we wrap up the show so people can go and learn more. Hopefully they've learned a lot today and maybe want to get involved. I know you're looking for host families, right? As much as possible?
Absolutely. We'll take any more host families that we can get for this summer, and obviously always looking for future summers.
Is there anything else that people can do to help out? Do you need volunteers with the organization or financial help?
Yeah, people can always, financial help is always good, but even volunteering behind the scenes. I mean, people ride buses to these friendly towns where the kids get off. My husband rides the bus to those towns.
On purpose, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, they need to have escorts that ride the bus. There's just behind the scenes things. There's paperwork, there's interviewing, there's a whole bunch of things that go on to make this program what it is.
All right, one more time on the website.
www.freshair.org.
Martha Mincer, she is the fund representative for Fresh Air Fund. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. We will see you next time. Take care.